Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nate the Effing Great. This is the Game Changer, and this is indeed another edition of What Did I Just Watch? The only place where you can get true reviews, true reactions from yours truly, Nate the Effing Great. So much has gone on since the beginning of this year, and I haven't gotten a chance to actually sit down and do a review on so many of the different movies that I've actually seen. So far this year, I've seen 7 different movies. It would have been 9 this week had I not gotten caught up with work and with not getting much sleep. But I digress. I am going to be reviewing the 7 movies here that I have at least have listed here. Going to go into brief descriptions. There will be some major spoilers in here, so if you've not seen them, probably want to wait until later on. I'm only going to spend about a maximum of about 5 minutes on each. So if you're looking for a certain movie here and there, just fast forward 5 minutes and you'll basically be caught up. So let's just not waste any time. Let's get right into it. First movie on the list is Black Panther. Boy howdy, has this movie just been absolutely popular. It has just broken the box office. It has broken critic ratings. It has just done everything that everybody could even expect it and even more. Oh my gosh. This is one of those movies that is a great standalone movie. And to be honest, it really does take a little bit off of the focus when it comes to Infinity War. Now, granted, some of the points during this movie might point to another Infinity Stone, but for the most part, you never really thought about, Infinity War. You just thought about, who was Black Panther? Where did he come from? How did he get his powers? How did he become this great deal? And they do such an amazing job with this. I mean, the combination of future technology as well as old traditional African, ceremonies. There we go. Just everything that they put into this movie is absolutely just done so well. Chadwick Boseman does an amazing job. We got Michael B. Jordan, Daniel Kaluuya, who made a shocking appearance in my opinion. I mean, this is a guy who was also in Get Out and did a phenomenal job. As soon as we saw him, we're like, oh my god, that's the guy from Get Out. The movie itself just basically talks about how Black Panther has come to be, how he has to basically fight to earn that right to be known as the Black Panther, to be in that tribe, and it's everything that you can imagine, and oh my gosh, it's just absolutely amazing. Currently right now, it stands at $1.203 billion that it has made at the box office, and you look at the budget that they had 200 to 210 million. They have not only surpassed it, they have also just made it, oh my god, it's absolutely just amazing how well this movie does. Now, there's some people that have been debating on what this movie it kind of is. I had one customer say that his friends were stating that this was basically the Black Star Wars, and I would like to say that I honestly strongly disagree. There might be slight similarities, but not full on. If anything, this is Marvel's version of The Lion King, where of course we see Chadwick Boseman's character, taking over for his father after he was killed in Captain America: Civil War. We see a nice scene where we see the Black Panthers from the past basically giving their endorsements to the current Black Panther. It's just something that's absolutely amazing. We see a rival basically try to kill the Black Panther and try to take his spots because somehow he believes he is the rightful heir. Just everything that goes into this movie is absolutely amazing. And the fact of the matter is, it's standalone. You don't see any of the Avengers until like the very, very end, where the end credit scene shows. I'm trying to remember her name. Let me see if I can at least Black Panther's sister basically help Bucky get recovered from his injuries regarding Civil War, and that's the only time we really get to see anything Avengers like. It's absolutely amazing how well this movie is doing. And like I said, standalone, no Avengers really involved. It's just absolutely amazing how well this movie is doing. And it just goes to show that diversity is a very, very powerful tool in not only our culture, but also in movies, because you barely get to see these kind of deals where you see a full-on African-American cast, or you see a full-on, African-American main character take the spotlight. It's just absolutely amazing. Very well done. So, star rating here, I go from 1 star to 5 stars, giving this movie, straight off the bat, 4.5 stars. It is absolutely amazing. It is very well done. The story is easy to follow. The characters are very well developed. There's a bit of comedy. There's a lot of action. It's absolutely, can't miss. If you haven't gone to see it, go see it. It's great. Now, we move on from Black Panther to a movie that kind of, I don't think it really fell short. It was just one of those movies that it's known as Red Sparrow. I love Jennifer Lawrence when she performs. She did a great job in the Hunger Games, Hunger Games Catching Fire. I thought she did a great job in American Hustle. I thought she was really good in Passengers. There's a few more that I'm probably missing right now, but those are the ones that just come off the top of my head. Red Sparrow was one of those movies where you see her really take a more serious take on her role, and it's very well done, where she plays the role of a Russian former ballet student. They actually start off with her doing a ballet while there's some action sequences going on, and it also features her taking like a sick shot to her leg where she gets temporarily crippled and unable to ballet dance again. Then eventually, people come and find her, and she becomes, of course, a sparrow. But of course, as time goes on, she would be known as simply the Red Sparrow. This is one of those things where it's just absolutely insane how they do this. They're basically trying to suck the emotion out of individuals, use them as weapons just to accomplish missions. It is just so very well done. The only issue that I have with this is the fact that it just drags on way too long. There are some points where, you get to the action sequence, you get to the interesting part of the story, and then they just continue the story on for an unnecessary amount of time. All in all, like I said, it's a great movie. I just wish that they took out maybe about 15 minutes of certain parts where it was like, yeah, okay, we get this. She's trying to, bring in the Americans so that way she can, basically seduce him and get the secrets of, the mole that's in the Russian government, which would eventually be Jeremy Irons, who a lot of people will know as Alfred from Batman, Batman vs Superman, and Justice League, who also does a really good job. He ends up, being the mole, and just it's a very well done movie. So, all in all, like I said, it's very well done. The story can just drag just a little too much, but it's a very easy story to follow. And honestly, this is one of those things that really shocked me, and I do apologize if I, spoiled too much of this. This is one of those movies where I would not in a million years thought I'd ever see, Jennifer Lawrence go topless. This was one of those things where I'm like, whoa, she actually went with this. I mean, there was, of course, other people that were, getting naked, and it was just like, okay, this is just not. And then when you see Jennifer Lawrence, and it's like, whoa, what? And it wasn't really one of those things where it was like, whoa, that's hot. It was one of those things where it's like, whoa, I'm not used to seeing Jennifer Lawrence, getting, I guess the term is physically dirty. She's more verbally dirty, and best example of that is when she was in American Hustle. she was just talking about how she was like, we just say, we talk, we yell, we fuck, and that's it. It's just one of those things where, you see that, and it's like, whoa, I never thought I would expect that. But, that being aside, her acting is just absolutely spot on, and she's one of the saving graces of the entire movie. So, all in all, star rating for this one, I would give it about 3.5 stars. Like I said, it definitely exceeded my expectations just by a small margin, but it still did a great job of creating a different story and giving Jennifer Lawrence something different to work with as far as her acting wise, and it's great to see that. Alright, next up we have Game Night. So when I first saw the trailers for this, automatically, you see Rachel McAdams and you see Jason Bateman, and it's one of those things where I look at this like, well, okay, it's going to be basically like Date Night with Steve Carell and Tina Fey. I go in and see this movie with very moderate to low expectations that it's probably going to be, any good. But boy howdy, leaving the movie, I was blown away at how well it was very done. First of all, I'm a big fan of Rachel McAdams' acting. I think she does an amazing job, and this is one of the first few times where I see her actually, get into a little bit of the dark humor and actually be more of a comedy. Jason Bateman's already great as that. It is, the story basically talks about them as a couple falling in love, getting married, but they also love to play games. So there's a lot of gaming cliches, like during their wedding deal, they have like Dance Dance Revolution. They always have game nights. Jason Bateman's character proposes to Rachel McAdams' character through charades, where basically she just guesses, marry me. Then later on in the movie, we see Rachel McAdams, basically do a Pictionary, where she talks about bun in the oven, where basically she's saying, hey, I'm pregnant. It's just one of those things where it seems kind of lame, but at the same time, it's very well done. And then they go into like really dark sense of humors. Of course, during the trailer, they mentioned that, Jason Bateman's brother, basically he's saying like, oh, I hired these guys to basically kidnap one of us, and we have to find out who the killer is. But it turns into something different when the killers actually turn out to be real killers. It's just one of the very well done movies. The two couple friends, I should say, are actually pretty entertaining as well. But, Jason Bateman and Rachel McAdams are very, very, very well connected. They have a sort of chemistry that's very hard to just describe. I was actually very surprised at how well this movie went for them. So, in all honesty, I look at this and I think, wow, I kind of want there to be a Game Night 2. And there's a possibility that might happen if everything goes well. Probably could look at some of the reviews have actually said that, the performances have been actually really good. The dark humor really makes the movie so much more interesting. Like I said, it's getting more praise because of, the dark humor and the cast performances. Warner Brothers actually did hit a major They hit a really good home run movie here. And the fact that Rotten Tomatoes even give it an 82%, that's actually saying something. It's absolutely great. So, final rating for this one, I would give this one, I think I'd give this one a 4-star rating. Like I said, going into this, I had very moderate to low expectations, but it definitely knocked it out of the park, and it did an absolutely phenomenal job of creating something new, of creating something fresh, and just one of those comedies that a lot of people look at and say, hey, this is actually pretty good. And I will tell you this, I actually had a couple go and see that movie instead of Strangers Pray at Night, and I'll explain why when I get to that. And they went in with, okay, this might be an interesting movie. And then they went saying, like, wow, that was an awesome movie. Thank you so much for suggesting that. So that was one of those things where it's like, I'm very proud of that. So we move on to the next movie, Annihilation, which, geez Louise, you have Oscar Isaac involved, as well as Natalie Portman. Oscar Isaac, for a lot of people that don't know, was the guy who plays Poe Dameron in the Star Wars movies. That was kind of one of those things that took me by surprise, where it's like, oh, shit, isn't that Poe? That's Poe Dameron. Well, that's actually pretty cool. Story basically talks about how this woman, Natalie Portman's character, is going into this kind of like bubbly area, and they're trying to figure out, what's going on here, why people have been disappearing as they've been going in. She has like a little mini crew that goes in to this. It's a weird kind of alien life form deal. All in all, I watched the trailers for this, and I'm like, oh, okay, it looks okay. Going into this movie, I didn't know what to expect, and honestly, even out of this movie, I've still have been like scratching my head, not in like major confusion like how the story went, but more because of just trying to wrap around what exactly happened throughout this movie. Just as they enter into the bubble, they see so many different things. They see, flowers are just growing very well. Creatures are completely different. I think they said that there was a crocodile that basically had not only their regular set of teeth, but also like shark-like teeth, where they have like a rows upon rows upon rows of teeth, which is very unique. They had like something nice and quiet, like a deer that looks almost like a lawn ornament, but looks so beautiful. And then, of course, one of the scariest things there was the bear. Because, geez Louise, this bear not only looked like it was something out of a horror movie, but the fact that it was able to mimic the sound of somebody screaming made it that much more terrifying. I mean, there's that trailer where you see the bear basically, coming up by the women, and it's just kind of like snarling. As soon as it opens its mouth, it does this whole deal where it's like, help me, help me. It is just so bone-chilling, and it's so crazy. Basically, the aliens that, drop this bubble on, they're trying to improve the Earth. They're not trying to destroy it. And there's just so many moments, again, where I'm just kind of like, wow, this is kind of an interesting movie. I'm kind of glad I watched this, but then there's still the visual effects are just absolutely amazing, visual effects, performances, direction, and the story is very just thought-provoking. It's very well done. Now, some people have said that it suffered from being deemed too intellectual for general movie audiences. I can agree with that. I think there were some points where it was just seemed very complex, but I think another thing they did was really, they went a little too overboard with the soundtrack. Oh my gosh. There are some points where you're just trying to watch the movie and it's like, okay, trying to understand. Then the soundtrack just goes on and it's just like, it just goes like really, really loud out of nowhere. Now maybe that was because the surround sound system, or maybe it was just how the score was that it was supposed to have those moments where these instruments are supposed to go just completely loud, but it was just one of those things that did distract and take away from the story. The ending, oh my gosh, where we see, the bubble has basically been defeated. Natalie Portman and Oscar Isaac, they reunite and they ask each other, are you who you say you are? Then they hug each other and their eyes just glow. And for me, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, wait. So I knew that, Oscar Isaac's character was actually just not him, but Natalie Portman's character, she survived the whole thing, and yet she still has the glow. What is going on here? So many things here where I'm just wrapping my mind around it, and I'm just like, what exactly is going on? I don't fully understand what is going on here, but I think that's one of the beautiful things about this, is that there's so many questions. And in all honesty, I would love to see them do a Annihilation 2. I would love to see Annihilation come back, so that way they can actually go more in depth of everything that happened. Maybe talk a little bit about why the colors of their eyes changed, and why these creatures from outer space came down in the first place. We never really got that answer, but I think that if they continued doing that with a second movie at least, they could probably answer those questions. So yeah, everything was really good, and I think that what really stood out was indeed the visual effects. So because of that, I'm going to give it a 4-star rating as well. It's something that definitely needs to be watched at least once. It may seem a little complicated at times, but for the most part, story is pretty easy to follow. The characters are actually pretty decent. It's just one of those movies that I watch and I think to myself, wow, this is one of the few times where I'm left speechless after a movie. It's actually pretty cool to have that feeling. All right, we go on to the next movie, which is a very, very good movie. In all honesty, I am absolutely surprised at the fact that this movie has actually not been one of the best in the box office, but I guess I can kind of understand why, because some people are still not exactly fully on board with it. As far as I know right now, they have a budget of $17 million, and they've only reached $14.9 million. So they're still $2 million away from reaching that goal. But the story itself basically talks about, about a boy who is still in the closet, and he's still really not sure of who he really is, and what could happen if he revealed to everybody that he was gay. How would people look at him? Would people judge him differently? Would people make fun of him? Would people treat him differently? How would his family take this? It's one of those movies that's very powerful and impactful. And the fact of the matter is, it's so well done because it feels like it's real. It feels like you could be in the shoes of somebody who is still, quote unquote, in the closet. And you basically have all the feelings of, why they don't feel like they want to come out now, or why they don't feel like rushing coming out. And, this relationship between Simon and Blue really hits it off, where basically they're talking to each other like, yes, we're gay, but we're still scared. And the fact that, it also deals with internet dating, where Simon wants nothing more than to meet Blue. Blue is like, I want to do that, but at the same time, I'm just not ready. There's even a point where Blue says, I can't do this. I just really can't. I can't do this. And he basically breaks it off between him and Simon. It's just one of those really heart-wrenching deals. And also, Catherine Langford is involved in this. She's in the TV series, Netflix series, 13 Reasons Why. Love her performance. Love that she's doing movies. I'm kind of sad at the fact that she doesn't end up with anybody in the end. In all honesty, it's one of those things where, like, come on, just give her somebody, give her some sort of happiness, just give her something. But just throughout this movie, you deal with so much. You deal with underage drinking, you deal with peer pressure, you deal with blackmailing, so many things that go on nowadays in our schools that we usually don't even know about until it's too late. But it's just one of those very powerful movies that a lot of people really are getting behind, and it's really gotten nothing but positive praise from so many different people. Honestly, Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 91%. That's pretty high up there. It's a very well done story. It's easy to follow, and for a lot of people that go through that deal where they're trying to basically find themselves, they can relate to it. It's a very well done movie. I absolutely thought it was great. I thought there was a little hint of comedy, which made it better, but there was also a lot of real life situations that made this movie that much more enjoyable. It was absolutely great, and I would definitely recommend it to anybody. Final rating for this one, I would definitely give this one a 4.5. It was very well done. Yes, I'm putting it on the same level as Black Panther. It's a very well done movie. Everybody in there should definitely get all the credit, from the actors to the camera crew to everything. I am hoping that this movie by next year is looked at and thought of, they deserve this kind of recognition. And yes, I'm talking about maybe Academy Award winning. I'm talking about what is it? People's Choice Awards, as well as the Critics Awards, I believe they're called. Either way, just giving it the right kind of recognition, because it's one of the first few times that you are actually dealing with a movie that deals with gay romance that was not known as Brokeback Mountain. So this was actually a very well done movie, and again, I recommend people at least watching it once. Oh boy, now we move on to a movie that is a very emotionally, very, very well done movie, and that is I Can Only Imagine. Tells the story about this song, I Can Only Imagine, how it came to be, how it just really became something of a phenomenon. Tells the story of Bart Millard and his life, dealing with an abusive father, with a mother who left halfway through his life, his time growing up, discovering that he has a voice and he has a gift that could be used very well. Throughout his life, he discovers God, and he basically relies on God to help him get through every single day. Then he meets up with Mercy Me. They start a band. They start trying to get new places. They're trying to really just become a major hit. And one of the things that I'm trying to remember who it was, the agent that they had, was that they wanted it, he said, need to pick music that is actually true to you. Not just something that's like a cover, not just something that, sounds good on paper and sounds good on the instrument. Something that is true to you, that, can really help you look at the words and you can just embrace them and know that they are yours. And during this time, Bart realizes that he has to go back and he has to confront everything that he went through in life. One of them being his father, who, as soon as he comes back, his father goes like a full 180, and he's definitely got a different attitude. He sees his son, and he's just like, I'm so glad that you're back. And Bart, he's having such a hard time letting go because of everything that went on in the past. He would then eventually find out that his father had cancer, and it's one of those things where he now finally realizes this is why I need to forgive him, because if nobody else will, then he's not going to be at peace. And this is just a very well done story, because then it shows Bart getting a chance to actually be with his father, spend time with him, and it feels like he's getting the father that he always wanted. And one of the things that he mentioned in his little diary was that he said, I am now finally have the father that I've always wanted, and he's going to be taken away from me. Just those final moments where we see Bart's father just basically talking to him about how powerful an influence he was to him, and how he listened to his son sing in church the day that he just left. It's just one of those movies that is very well done. And then eventually, Bart would go on to write the song I Can Only Imagine. And what makes this really good is the fact that they do combine so much of the real life situations and real life deals that Bart had to go through in life, and they applied it to here. And they even, after the movie was over, they mentioned, how he married his high school sweetheart Shan, and how he would go on, he would have, such a great relationship with his mom, how Mercy Me would then write, some more songs that would be so high up there and be so inspirational to people. And they were saying, like, even to this day, Bart Millard is still the lead of Mercy Me, and he's still singing out there. That is what's really cool. And they even mentioned, I think it was in 2011, 2017. It was around this time area, whatever you want to call it, that he actually went to Washington, D.C., and he talked to everybody about all the struggles and everything that he went through as, a child, and how everything that he had to persevere through just was absolutely amazing. It's one of those things where you will definitely cry within the last, I would say, 20, 30 minutes of the movie, because not only is it the combination of, him reconciling with his father, but also hearing that song, I Can Only Imagine. It's just absolutely amazing. Final rating for this, I will give this another 4.5. Actually, I'm going to go a little bit further with this one. I'm going to give it a 4.75. It's honestly one of the most powerful movies of this year. It is very well done. It is so, so good. If you haven't gotten a chance, go check it out. And if you haven't gotten a chance to listen to Mercy's Me's, I Can Only Imagine, go listen to that at least once. It is a very powerful song. It is so inspiring. And don't just listen to, the melody, to the music. Listen to the actual lyrics, and you will definitely understand why it became such a huge phenomenon even to this day. When people hear I Can Only Imagine, they will have their hearts kind of skip a beat. It's like, oh, this is such a good song. It's very well done. So, and the fact of the matter is, oh my gosh, they were only expecting to maybe make about 7 million, and they're already at 22.9 million worldwide. It's just absolutely amazing. It's just really good, and the critics, of course, including myself, say that it's inspiring, and it's some critics have actually said that it's an improvement compared to other faith-based films. I don't know if that's, take a shot at God's Not Dead, which, God's Not Dead 3 is coming up pretty quick here. But it's one of those movies that definitely really stands out as one of the best of this year. And I'm hoping that, again, excuse me, that it gets the proper recognition that it rightfully deserves. So, I guess we'll see by 2019. Alright, final movie on this list. That is, oh boy, The Strangers Pray at Night. First of all, I kind of just realized the whole title deal. It basically sounds like they just crammed the entire title into one deal. It's like, oh, the strangers, they pray at night. The title itself just really sounds really bad. I looked at the trailers, and I'm thinking like, oh, okay, this actually doesn't look like a bad movie. I remember watching the original Strangers movie, and it was a very good movie. I was very surprised on how well it did. Now, comparing that one to this one would be very difficult because of a few reasons. One being that the second one, Pray at Night, is a bit more entertaining, to say the least. Or they're trying to be more entertaining. One of the things that they do is that the killers actually try to do more of this deal where they're killing and they're playing like classic music that's kind of upbeat and just, little bit of like medium energy, stuff like that, and then they just start killing their victims. That, honestly, excuse me, I'll be definitely going to sleep after this. It would have worked if it was more of a comedy-based horror movie, but I feel like this one was supposed to be more of a thrilling, a more exciting movie, and it just felt like that, really took away from the movie. I was just waiting for, Mr. Blue Skies to just start playing. And honestly, if somebody out there knows of a video that has somebody killing somebody else to the tune of Mr. Blue Skies, I actually do want to see that. I think that would just be one of the most just mind-numbing and scarring moments that you could have ever seen in your life. But yeah, the story itself just basically talks about a family who just don't always see eye to eye, and they're going to send their daughter away to boarding school. Just the main characters here, I think that when you plan a horror movie or a thriller, you kind of want them to have a little bit of sympathy, where when they do die, it's just like, oh no, don't kill this person, don't kill this person. I never felt that during this movie. When I watched this movie, I remember just thinking, I don't think I want any of these people to live. Because the parents first started off just basically saying like, oh no, we don't want you to make it seem like, we're sending you away because we hate you. But then there came a scene later on where basically the dad basically just said like, yeah, remember when, it was just the two of us and we used to do it on the couch? No interruptions and blah, blah, blah. It's like, really, dude? You've literally just said to your daughter that we're not sending you away because we don't like you. But you say something like that. It's one of those things where it's like they have that ulterior motive. They deserve to die. They deserve to die. And yeah, the parents were killed off. Then we see, the brother basically almost get just destroyed. Although he had some of like the best action scenes where he basically took care of she took care of the mom. He did his best against the dad. Then we see, I think they called her like Dollface in the original, where basically where the daughter takes on Dollface and she's beating her down, and then there just came a point where the girl takes off her mask and she reveals her face, and I was just kind of like, okay, I don't feel like significance in this. And the girl asks, why do you do this? And Dollface she chuckles and just replies, why not? There's so much of me that, if this was a really good horror movie, I would have been like, that is a really good line. But this was kind of one of those moments where I was so fed up with this movie that I actually was just like, I threw my hands up and I'm just like, well, of course they're going to say something stupid like that. Because why not? Faces blown off. Thank God. This was just a train wreck of a movie. I do not understand it. The story itself is so flawed. The characters are not very likable. You're actually more cheering for the killers than anything. And I know people make the comparison like, oh, well, when Freddy was in movies, we were cheering for him a lot too. It's like, well, they reached a point where they just didn't care, I guess to say. But there are still some points where you're just like, oh, well, hopefully this person doesn't die, or hopefully this person doesn't die. They at least tried to make these characters a little bit more relatable. With these ones, it was just like, geez, these people just need to go and die. I just do not understand it. Final star rating for this one. Oh, boy. Yeah, this was the worst movie I've seen so far this year. And I'm not even including like Netflix movies that I've seen this year. Because there are some that I would think would be worse than this one, but now thinking about it, it's like, no, there was nothing worse than this one. Maybe Open House, but 2 stars out of 5 for The Strangers Pray at Night. I really would not recommend anybody seeing it. It's almost as bad as The Bye Bye Man that came out last year. I really have very few things that I can say positive about it. It just did not feel like the original at all, which I can understand. Most sequels are not supposed to feel like the original, but you still got to have some familiarity to it, and not just the characters alone. Otherwise, it's going to just take away from the first one a lot more than people expect to. Alright, so that is the final movie that I have on my list. That was a lot of movies for me to basically critique and rate and suggest or not suggest. It's been really crazy. I'm still trying to find a way to get back into the fray of, seeing more movies and then getting more of these reviews out, but I am going to be working on that a lot more. So thank you guys so much for listening in to my rants and my reviews and, yada, yada, yada. You know where to find me on Facebook. You know where to find me on Twitter. The link is in the comment section below here on Spreaker.com. Give us a follow here. Give us a follow on our Twitters. Again, links in the comments below. So much is going to be going on for the next couple weeks. It's going to be absolutely amazing. So again, thank you so much for joining me here for this episode of What Did I Just Watch? All in all, not too bad with movies. Just one bump in the road, but you gotta have one or two at least when you are on the road to something really great. And I do believe Infinity War is going to knock it out of the park. Alright, so with that being said, excuse me, I'm going to be signing off. So thank you guys so much again, and we will talk to you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye!